And the idea of robustness can be best illustrated with this example. How many of you own a, what do you call them? These ugly things that are sold by Amazon, where you can download electronic Kindle. Okay. How many of you own a Kindle? Okay. All right. So, and how many of you have used a book, something commonly known as a book? You could buy it at a bookstore, like their bookstore. Okay. So a lot of you have read books, have seen books, touched the book. Okay. Now make a comparison. If you spill coffee on your Kindle, you know what happens, no? Or if you don't have electricity, or if you're in whatever, there's a technical problem. Now, what kind of technical problem can you have with a book? All right, so, okay. I have, my parents had in their collection a book by Plautus, comedies by Plautus, that my father bought for something like $5 in Moscow, and whatever, when he was visiting 50 years ago. Anyway, the book was 500 years old. It looked no different from a regular book. I don't know how many of you are old enough to have encountered the floppy disk drive. Okay, all right, so I have stuff written on floppy disk drive not long ago, 10 years ago. I can't retrieve it, can't read them. I'm glad I can't read them, because I'm sure I'd be very disappointed by the literary quality of what I wrote 10 years ago. But so you understand the difference between the two worlds. One seemingly is not efficient. A book is heavy. It's so passé, all right? The other is hip. It's technology. And guess what? So the problem with technology is that it seemingly optimizes things, but it does cause some fragility. And my idea is anything that becomes complex becomes a lot more fragile to black swans, to these events named, Black Swan after some exception mentioned by Juvenal. And my black swan is different, because I'm not talking about birds, I'm talking about events with some sets, some characteristics. So this, in a nutshell, is what I've been thinking about. Then I realized that anything fragile will eventually break, and anything robust will survive. And I looked at nature and discovered that nature had some parameters. No two big animals are too big. The elephant is the biggest. Why? Because as elephants, anything bigger than an elephant would have to pay up for water per liter a lot more. You see, an elephant pays up if there's a shortage of water. What do you pay up? A lot more than a mouse per liter. You agree? So seemingly a large organization would be a lot more efficient, but in fact it becomes a lot more fragile. So the biologists understand why, they have some theories of why you can't be bigger than an elephant. It's bullshit. I mean, the problem is sensitivity to random events. Random events squeeze you a lot more when you're a larger organism. So Mother Nature understands that rather well and builds things in a certain way. Humans think they're smart. They build things in a bad way, and these things break. I mean, how many corporations have survived the last 100 years, 50 years, 25 years, 10 years? Right? So you realize that there's a high mortality in the species called businesses, and a much higher mortality than in the biological species. So based on that, I realized that we have to work on, I'm tired of the idea of the black swan, so we have to work on something called robustness. And in this new edition of the Black Swan, I made a tableau of where is it that we're fragile to black swans. I call that the fourth quadrant, and how we can protect ourselves by becoming more robust in the fourth quadrant. You can either exit the fourth quadrant, or if you're in it, you need to be robust. So I can talk about these things. These idea of fragility and robustness came to me as, I'm not a Gladwell or a regular journalist who takes a topic and milks it and then moves on. It's like serial monogamous to another topic. All right, I have only one topic. Uncertainty, but I continue. So the transition between my books is seamless. Okay, so.